students were brought to do a building for a community, and they had to do a canteen that was for the collective, which also had a public area. And the city needs this kind of programs that go past the programs that we see in institutions and in the market. They have to be accessible to the community. They have to be easy and free. And this made the students think a bit more about this. What is a place for actual community? This is a work that I actually oriented, which had to do with the interiors. Some were not accessible, some were just abandoned. These areas needed intermediate spaces because it's in the middle of public and private. These places are spaces of biodiversity, and how can city be in this kind of places? Being a habitat of a city needs this kind of proximity. And after the students made different ideas and programmed the city with different things. And in a way, this made it so that a student that came with a vision of the city that was based in what they are used to, they start thinking that the city can be lived in another manner. In a way, what we do is this is a website that the university has. We look to have our projects that we do online so we can accumulate knowledge so we don't have to be always repeating ourselves. And so this is our archive that allows us to go forward. So we don't have to start from zero every time. This was an exercise that we recently did. This was a place for us to watch the stars. This was a industrial building, which was temporary, thought to be of an expectant project. And we understand why that would be so difficult. But students have the possibility of imagining these kinds of situations, thinking how this could be housing, how this could be actually living. So this was a kind of housing that was made to thought of the ruin and the way of thinking of a abandoned place, and the ruin as a kind of place when it comes to biodiversity and enriching the city. Usually we see it as something bad, but it also has a lot of potential, because the city also needs places of transgression. And we know that many times this kind of spaces allow this. This is the work of a student that made a work in the zone of Course, and talking about how the city is all this. So when we walk from one side to the other, we see it in a very easy way. But as time goes on, the city starts changing its limits. And this is extremely interesting. And so she did multiple kinds of cuts and made a sensorial way of thinking. And how can you feel and hear the noise of water, what you can feel when you sit, and thinking about all these qualities when talking about public space. This has to do with the earlier exercise that I told you about. This has to do with the scale of the industry part. These are drawings from different students. In the case of art students, we have something that has to do with different exhibitions that they do. They have multiple challenges when it comes to the art part, because we have to think of how we are living collectively and how could we get better. And now we are taking inclusion and make that so that this kind of teams stay here. I remember this work that I oriented, just a plan made by her, which had Zone of Courage and Alameda, and she registered space in space in each shop. And independently of whatever kind of shop it was, she would just make the map, taking into consideration the public components and the private components. And she made it by walking. So that plan talks about it, and on the other one, it talks about something else, which is all the events that Guimarães has. It has Vila Flor, the spectacle, all the spaces in the city that have events throughout the years. It's something about the artist production, but you also have to look at the city in itself and sometimes think about it as more informal. And now, more to end, what we wish to do in the school is to travel. We don't do it as much as before, but we look to have a specific thing, which is traveling through time. It's not to run, but more observing and taking our time. We don't have to have a discourse that's about changing. We don't want to say that it's the best one. We want to see the potential in how we can change. We don't want to have a hierarchy when we talk about it. We want to see the good in every single space. And so what we do with these students is something that helps them socialize and talk with different people. This is in Morocco. You don't want to know the distance between a student that gets Guimarães now and someone there. And so it's closer to European capitals more than this place. And walking, this is a plant of the center, where in thinking a bit about walking and thinking a bit about it for the future, I hope that the city actually changes and sees itself as walking. This presentation has been done a few days ago. And there's this theme, which was the theme of the eating part and being able to get resources. This is the wish to make people think about elements and how can people reach the things that they eat. Do they know where it's coming from? And we look forward to make them understand how those mechanisms work. But we also have students who did this experiment in Vizela in a abandoned house where they cleaned everything. They talked with the people and the owners, and they cleaned the house and rediscovered the house. They organized a picnic and they got closer to the community. And many times eating is a way to get closer to people. And in this moment, it's not very easy to do a picnic in the middle of the city. And we don't really have a place to do it. These are some of the students. And to resume, what we try to do is to affirm the city as a place of living in our house. And I said that what is missing in this case is that we keep having students that have a lot of difficulties when it comes to getting housing. They don't have the possibility to reach it, and they do not have the possibility of knowing the city 24/7. And so I think that one of the ways to get to the end of this path is to guarantee that they allow themselves to have that possibility. Thank you.